All right, welcome back, beautiful humans, to another episode of Naked Sunday. I am your host, Caleb Nelson, and I have the lovely, the posh. You just used posh. I have not heard somebody say posh, and I couldn't tell you how long, and I loved everything about it. Rachael Bosanquet joining me on the podcast today. Rachel, I love you. Welcome to the
Thank
show.
you. I don't sound as posh though as Bosanquet. So as I was just telling you, Bosanquet is how you say my name, but I say Bosanquet because I'm a little bit posh. And
You're a lot of it posh. You're
Rachael Bosanquet.
You're styling. You're
Yeah.
styling. You got, first off, notice the bright pink earrings. At least they're pink with the lighting for me right now. Very Naked Sunday vibes right now. And I am feeling that. Did you do that on purpose for me?
Well, to be honest, these are my branding colors. So, but mine obviously match yours.
Girlfriend.
So we're meant to be.
This conversation was destined. It was in the stars. It was there. It was here for us.
Totally.
You were making me blush a little bit before we even hopped on here because you actually know my very open, vague structure, but you know my one question because we're going to jump right into it. Let's be this. Let's just be us. I love you because of how positive you are. You just have this beautiful, bright, very authentic and genuine smile about you. And I think you can tell a lot about somebody's, like, just from their smile.
Mm-hmm.
There's a painted on smile and then there's a real smile. And you just have like this, there's a joy and you bring joy. Like, I feel like I have never met you in person. Can't wait till that one fateful day. I'm like, I just want to go give her a hug because I feel if I get up in her space, like all that good vibes is going to rub off on me and I'm going to just carry even more good vibes on with the day. And we need more people like that. We need to keep more people who are bringing that higher elevation, higher energy kind of positivity into the world. So thank you for just being that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm a very emotional person. You should not start this way.
We can blush together. It's not just my fake and bake. We're good. We're good. My family just got on me when I went home for the holidays, whenever somebody's listening to this. And they're like, you shouldn't be fake and baking. I got them reading me the riot act and be like, you know what? I'm feeling my summer vibes. So what are you going to say about this? And I'm deal with it. I'm just living my best. Best. Anywho, Rachel, I will let you do the honors. Share with our audience, who are you?
Who am I? Okay, well, thank you. First of all, that's a lovely thing to say. I do feel like I am a really positive person. So like, that's really nice to know that that's the vibe I'm giving off.
You're succeeding in spades, in posh spades.
Posh spades. But yes, who am I? So I am Rachael Bosanquet, whatever you want to call me. And I run My Freelance Admin. And My Freelance Admin is a collective of virtual assistants, also known as a VA. A lot of people don't know what a VA is or a virtual assistant, so I'm just going to put it out there. It's like a PA, a personal assistant, but it's online. So yeah, I've had a lot of questions recently, like, so what is a VA? So I thought I better just put that out there. So yeah, my business is a collective of virtual assistants. I've got a pool of about 40 VAs that are sort of on my radar. And we have clients, all sorts of different types of businesses who come to us and get regular admin support, or sometimes just ad hoc admin support with whatever they need. However, I realized answering this question, I'm not answering the question, am I? I'm just telling you about my business. Who am I? Who am I? In true you style, I'm going to go a bit deeper than that. Ooh. So I'm going to go backwards to how I started. So I always wanted to be a pop star. I wanted to be Britney Spears, to be honest. And they're closely related, Britney Spears and a virtual assistant agency, aren't they?
Very.
So I actually studied music, and I'm a singer, still am, and a songwriter. Not doing much songwriting nowadays, but background is in singing. I left my degree. I used to work in events. I used to perform at events, like corporate events, weddings, that kind of thing. I still do. Let's just put that out there. But I don't work in the events office anymore. And then what else? I used to teach singing in a school 2 days a week. I had like a really choppy, changey week. It was like 2 days in the events office, 2 days in the school, and then on the weekends I'd be performing or event coordinating at events. all alongside that, I was trying to launch myself as a pop star. So I was creating myself as an artist. And what I say nowadays is I realized that that time in my life, which was a 10-year period, is where I learned all my skills that I use now, because I was running myself as a business. I was making my website, doing my flyers, organizing my own radio tour, all of that stuff, as well as writing and becoming an artist. So that's where my sort of background comes from. And then basically 10 years in, I decided I wanted to buy a house and get married. And I just wanted something a bit different. And even though like my money was good, it wasn't like secure. And like for the mortgage, I don't know if it's the same way you guys are, but mortgage wise, I needed a bit more like solid books to be able to get a house. So I jumped into the corporate world and I went to work in London, where I was living at the time, for an architecture firm as a PA, personal assistant. And I absolutely loved it, like absolutely loved it. And what I found was I had loads of transferable skills. And more than that was my attitude was very different to everyone else's, because I sort of just, if I didn't know how to do something, I'd learn, you know. So I was like that person in the office that, you know, the printer breaks, I go fix the printer, whereas everyone else is like, oh, the printer's broken, what do we do? So I worked there for quite a while, and I grew up the ladder to a senior project coordinator there. Absolutely loved my time there. And then I left there in 2019, I want to say, and started working for a startup. And again, just doing a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, which wasn't really the problem. That was fine. But then I was pregnant and I went on maternity leave. And so that was September 2020. And when I came out of my maternity leave, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, because the startup I'd been working for, I'd worked for as self-employed. And people were just sort of like handing me admin work here and there. And I thought, this is good. This could work around my child. I'd like 12 hours a week, flexible work from home. And then that grew and grew. And then by December, it was 29 hours a week. And I was doing that like 2 days of full work and then just around naps and bedtimes. And I was like, this is definitely my limit, 29 hours, too much. And that's when I had the idea to start it as this more agency setup. So January 2022, so a year ago, I moved into this format and been running with it ever since. That's me in a nutshell.
Just the whole story of you. We didn't miss any details, nothing. Just all of it, start to finish. You got that done in like 3 minutes. That was pretty good. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
One thing in there stuck out really nice for me, and you can hear, I actually do think it brought out quite a bit of your persona. We're talking about this positivity. Anybody who's ever been a business owner understands you wear all the hats. And you talked about that during your music career. You're wearing all the hats until you have enough notoriety, you have enough money under you, till you can start basically hiring out somebody like yourself to like, can you take some of this clutter that's like building up in my brain and like sort that? Like, I understand it's important, but like, I don't have, like, you need the resources to fund it. So what I heard, what was really cool, is that you took this one transferable skill set, but also more importantly, I think the empathy of being the one who's in charge of everything, to say, when I go to this corporate job, oh, I understand what this person above me feels like. They got a lot on their plate. It's not, I think most people think they're, and don't get me wrong, there's plenty of bosses who are assholes and all that other stuff, but most of them are just overwhelmed. They're burnt out, they're tired. And and I've been in this place where I was just, my own leadership was very poor. I didn't know how to communicate, like, or set up systems where people could be self-sufficient, and to say, like, you got to be empowered to go solve some of your own problems here, guys. Like, I'm not here to babysit you. But that was really cool to say, oh, well, the printer's broken, I'll just go figure it out. Having had the courage or the wherewithals or the, like, I've always just learned how to do it. I don't need to ask. I don't need somebody to hold my hand for every decision I ever need to make. And it also lends to, like, appreciate, like, you appreciate when anybody else has ever just lent you a helping hand, to say, thanks for handing out one more flyer for me, or for sending out one email, or I'm using very vague examples, but that predisposed you for that deep empathy, which, I mean, you're a business owner again. How good does it feel when somebody just steps in? And it's not about money. It's about, you gave me my time and my energy back, but understanding how valuable that is. That not enough people understand that until you've been in the hot seat long enough to go, I get it. That clutter was actually costing me. It might have been costing you money in one, like, what if you walked out on stage and had all that other clutter in the back and you're like, oh my God, did I promote the next one? And then no, you gotta be standing out now. I gotta be singing to the audience in front of me, damn it. Like, these are the clients right now. I gotta be here. That's, professional side. Like, we can talk about how much more money it's going to make you all day, but you talk to a more important side. To me, what I heard of is this relationship at home. I'm a mom. I'm hodgepodging these hours together. For the record, all that I do know, and people do speak up about who listens to my podcast, they tend to be entrepreneurial women. Go figure. But they're all moms. They're all moms who are like, oh my God, like, you're speaking my language. I'm like, yeah. 29 hours, not 29 hours and 1 minute. That was the limit. And it had to be like weirdly like melanged together, mixed together, this like, so to formalize it, structure it, to give you more breathing room, to make it a little more streamlined, and to have somebody where you're like, shit, I trust you. Man, that's a huge gift. And isn't it so strange that when we just look back on our life, it was leading us to where we were going anyway? It's just maybe when we were in it, did you don't feel that way?
Yeah, totally. And I had a bit of a moment last year when I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what everything's been building to. And this is what I am good at, running this business and getting to know businesses and what they need, and then putting the right people in place. Like, I just had this moment of like, okay, this is me. Cool. But the empathy thing, again, I had that realization probably about 5 years ago, that I was a very empathetic person, and to the point where it's quite damaging sometimes. Like, there was one business I worked for, and I remember just sitting there crying and being like, this is when I was employed, but being like, I feel everything. And like, I was so frustrated with them for not doing stuff well enough. It's awful, but I felt it. And I was just so upset and angry that they weren't doing as good a job as they could have done. It's really silly when I think back. I'm really embarrassed about it. But anyway, but the
you're human.
The empathy thing is, it works in my favor now, because what happens is I work with businesses in that initial period, even if it's just a 30-minute conversation of like, what do you need? And then or sometimes I do like a whole like half-day session or a full-day session where we deep dive into like their admin processes and all that stuff, which I love. But that empathy then in those sessions really connects with like, what does this business need? Not what do they want, but what do they need? And so now it's like my superpower,
Well, especially I got to imagine being a mom. I mean, you've technically become just a professional mom to a bunch of probably to a bunch of other moms, or probably a bunch of dudes, like somebody like me who's like, I don't want to, like, can you just come in? I think about when I come home and like my wife, I mean, granted now like the roles are split, I work more from home, but like the house is organized. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like, and then of course I go out of my way to like leave my clothes in a random spot, and she wants to punch me in the face, and deservedly so. What, man, there was something in there about when you're talking about like this business, they were not doing as good as they could be. I've been there. When you're working with a client, you're like, I want to strive for more with you. For me, and I'd be curious to hear your take on my own introspection on this, I'm at a place in my life where I just believe everybody is my own mirror. I believe right now you are here in my life for a reason, to teach me something about myself. You're just showing me a mirror. Whether it's, oh, I show up as a positive person, and like, cool, like here she is with this bright, beautiful smile, and always like being bubbly and beautiful. Maybe that's saying something about me. Like, maybe that's a good thing, or whatever. But what I heard in there, and again, probably my own mirror of where I've struggled with stuff in my life is when I'm wanting it more for somebody else, it's also I'm holding myself to usually some like incredibly insane standard, and that whole what's the word that's coming to mind? Perfectionism. And especially when they're like, I'm good at all these things, but I have all this stuff to worry about. And then you see like one crack in this and like, everything's gonna crumble. My life is falling apart. I'm saying all that now to be like, I've gotten much better at that in my world because I had to take a step back, and you go through some hard times in life. You're like, most things are not a problem. I'm bringing that out because that little conversation, that little reflection meant a lot to me. Like, take me through anything that maybe resonated. If not, you could just throw it back out and be like, whatever. But just that perfectionist idea, really, I don't know, something about that, especially with entrepreneurs, high performers, like, and that empathetic, that really loving, heart-centered entrepreneur. I see that as a tendency.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because at the time, I was working for this company as an employee.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily like, I don't know. I've always been one of those people that gives anyone 110%, right? So I was trying to like get them to like this perfect level. Whereas, now I'm sort of, it's my business. So it's very different because it's like, I don't know. I feel like that was maybe my training for what I'm doing now, like understanding a business and like knowing where you want to get it. But I think, to be honest, whatever I've done in my life, I've always given way more than I needed to or should have, so yeah. But striving for perfectionism, I don't know, does perfection exist? Does it? I'm still going to strive for it if it doesn't.
Well, you might like this. And my buddy, he's in the other room right now. He presented this, and I actually wrote a post on this. It's somewhere on the social medias about perfect. And to perfect means, the actual definition in one of the verb form of it is to perfect. It means to come to final form. He introduced me to that thought from the time of this recording, probably a month ago. And that hit me because nothing comes to final form until we're dead. Yeah.
You kind of don't want to reach it, do you? Because that's it. Final means finish.
Yeah. And I think that's, I hope that for anybody listening, maybe even for you, and for sure reminding myself, probably why I wrote this post not too long ago, is that it's almost as if it gives permission to not have it all figured out, to have it all immaculate and all the way there, fully polished. And when in my own life, when I look at people, when I see like a little flaw, it actually makes me want to go with somebody more. It's that side is like that little flaw shows me the authenticity. We were just having a conversation about AI and what people think it's going to be this, this perfect thing. It's going to, but we're not fucking robots. We're not. And I think that's part of like the sexiness of humanity, is that we are not perfect, in that perhaps, and I'm just floating around in the esoteric right now, perhaps we are never perfect because we never come to final form. It's an evolution of humanity to go to the next level, I think a lot of entrepreneurs gravitate towards these concepts here because entrepreneurship is just like personal development, and I happen to make some money while I'm doing it. You hopefully make a lot of money so you can pass your legacy on very far, but I don't know, that definition really changed, that nuanced definition where it's the verb changed it changed the pressure for me when I saw that. Yeah, that totally has struck a chord with me as well. I'm gonna have to write that down. How so? Tell me. Well, the like what we said, like that's the final perfection then is the final thing. So I don't want to get to there. I don't want to get to the final form, I want to keep evolving and growing, and maybe I don't want to get there. Which then presents an ironic twist of like, sometimes we don't go all in because we don't want to get to the end, because then what if that's it? Now are we going to be bored?
Yeah, I'll still go all in. You know,
All in, all the
I'll still
time.
go all in. I just might raise the bar of what perfection is. Just keep raising it up. So I don't ever get there.
You're amazing.
I'm only joking, but yeah,
We
it's
always raise
really
the bar.
interesting. Sorry.
We always are raising the bar. I think that's the
Yeah.
inherent thing of like humanity. Like, where else can we
Mm.
go? Let me ask you this: as you've gone a couple rounds as an entrepreneur, clearly you are a serial entrepreneur. You have not just done it
Oh,
in singing. You pivoted and did it in a different industry.
yeah, I hadn't thought of that actually.
Really?
No.
Oh, I think I'll call it the creative industry. Most people think of
Yeah.
like, okay, we'll talk the personal assistants or whatever, like those kind of like, I'm going to call it practical. That's just the best word that comes to mind. It's like practical service, or
Mm.
we're selling something that's like a tangible object. Like most people think about that as like that, but I actually think the creative industry is the most entrepreneurial because it's really just an expression of the self, and then learning how to communicate that medium to an audience to say, you want to buy this, and buying is really just giving your attention in some way, shape, or form, currency, or I'm paying and I'm listening for a lot. Oh, I think it's one of the most profound, and I did not appreciate that till way too late in life, where I'm at right now. Thankfully, hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully I have many more years to live. But I think for sure that is one of the highest forms of entrepreneurship, in my opinion.
Mm. It's so interesting, yeah, because I've always, talked about how I was running myself as a business when I was a musician. However, I'd never really thought that that meant that I was an entrepreneur. In my head, this is my first sort of entrepreneur thing. But it makes sense that I'm a serial entrepreneur because my dad set up his own business and did very well with his own business. He was a chartered surveyor, so it's nothing glamorous. I don't even really know. It's a bit like Chandler in Friends, where it's like, what do you do? I don't remember what he does, but that's what it was like with my dad. I'm a chartered surveyor. What does that mean? But then also my sisters, I've got two sisters. They both run businesses. My younger brother, he has run a business. Right now he's living on like an island somewhere, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm from a family of entrepreneurs, so it makes sense that I'm a serial one.
What were some lessons that you took from your family? I mean, that ecosystem, I think, is powerful, and it's starting to come out, or at least we're starting to acknowledge the fact that we absorb information when we're younger.
Mm.
In retrospect, what are some of the big lessons you took from being in a family of entrepreneurs?
Gosh, I don't know. Up until like recently, I was always and I guess I still am, I was always the supportive one. So like when my elder sister, she ran she actually ran the entertainment agency I worked for, the events office I worked in. So I worked for her, so I was supporting her. And then my younger sister, I have done sort of admin support for her over the years. So I've always been the supportive kind of layer to the entrepreneur family. But now obviously I'm running my own business, but still in that kind of vibe, supporting businesses. But what did I absorb from them? Good question. I think from my dad's side, from my dad's business, it was about working. He worked very hard on it. He made a lot of money from it. So I think that probably is why I'm quite driven by working hard and making money. He's also quite good with money in that he doesn't just spend money. So when we grew up as kids, we had a nice house and everything, but we didn't have everything on a plate. Like we had to earn it. So that was a really good value and really good lesson to learn, that you don't just get given money, that you have to work hard. So again, that pays into the fact that I work really hard. But what have I learned from my sisters? I'm sure I've learned so much. Yeah, I can't think of anything, but they're very valuable people and amazing people. If they're listening, I've learned loads from you. I'm just not going to talk about it.
I'm sure. And if they simmer through back to the forefront of your mind, you can cut me off at any point and start
Okay.
sharing those.
Yeah.
Well, all about creating value is really tough. On the other side of that, what's been some of your biggest struggles as a business owner? as an entrepreneur?
Funnily enough, it's the money side of it.
Really?
Yeah, even though, like I say, my dad taught me really well with money, I really love paying people. Like, I get such a thrill out of paying people. And, yeah, like, I think in my first year, that's the one thing I've learned that I need to sort of rein in, because I'll get a VA to go do a job, fine, that's one thing. But then I'll be like, oh, can you do this, this, and this, and I'll pay you, like for example, when we're doing ad hoc tasks, I like them to type up their sort of method afterwards, because then we can sort of build up a library of how to do things. Not, that's obviously, it's a great thing to have, but that's just one example where I sort of won't necessarily look at the bottom line. I'll just be like, oh, I want to give you some more money. Can you do this?
Yeah.
So I think that's been my biggest struggle. And also when I set up all my projections for the business a year ago, I didn't really understand certain things, like I just thought any profit was mine, and I was like, oh, I'm going to make all this money. And then I've gradually learned over time, I need to put like 20% away for tax. I need to put away X amount for marketing, and then X amount for keeping it in the business, kind of thing. And then I can take whatever's left. So like I have a set percentage I take of it, like profit, but it's nowhere near what I thought I was going to be taking. So that was quite a big learning curve. But it's not all my money.
That whole thing of death and taxes always reigns true, don't it?
Yeah.
I really appreciate you bringing that piece out there, because so many people give away both things. They give away the house. One, like, I'm just going to give more money to people. And I think it's what people forget. And I've for sure not realized that most people, like most people want to feel like they belong to something and that they are valued. It is not always in the form of money. It might be in the form of any other love language. They took care of me. They looked out for me. They're part of a cause. They understand. Like, there's so many nuances to that in terms of letting people feel valued to be part of an organization without giving away all of your profit.
Yeah.
Which lends into the other conversation that most people are like, why is a price the price it is? Because you need margins to run a business, not only for now, but also for the dry times, because those times are coming. They are happening, whether you like it or not. It's going to happen. And people use the pandemic, like, oh my God, the pandemic, like the pandemic, yeah, tragic. But that was coming in some way, shape, or form to your business. It might not have been this global blackout the way it was across the board, but there was going to be a downturn. There was going to be down times where you were going to get hit with a regulation, or hit with a this or that, or something. Your sales funnel didn't work, or something didn't work out. You lose an employee. Just things happen. Catastrophe, quote unquote, happens. That's part of where you're creating margins so that your price can be so ultimately, so you can deliver the promise you made to your client, can remain consistent through the down times as well. It's about having the buffer and the margins that I think so many people are like, well, why does it cost that? Well, this is what I could buy here on the internet. Like, cool, go buy it here on the internet if you just want to. And we're talking about a virtual service, like different, but like, and some people like, I could just go run it myself. Like, okay, cool. Did you think about the admin costs, and then like net marketing costs, and then on top of that needing to run, like, there's so many layers to what this whole thing is. The newbie entrepreneur is like, whatever, I'll just get it. Yes, you can, and usually that's where people do, is like, you just compete on price, charge the lowest, because it's just you. But then over time, you're like, oh, well, now I need to pay for this software, I need to pay for these people, I need to pay for this, oh, I need to plan for retirement, I need to plan for taxes. It is, running a business is not for the faint of heart. You got to have some serious guts to say, yeah, I'm gonna keep going on this crazy ride, and then it's all on me to say I'm going to take responsibility for. So I love that those two things came out, and I'd say very fortunate that you learned at least some of those lessons early on
I hope I've learned them. I really hope I've learned them. I went to do it the other day. Like, I literally made, like, I gave myself a bit of talking to about money, like at the beginning of the year. It was like, right, from now on, keep it all under wraps, you know. And then the next day I messaged one of the VAs being like, oh, can you start working for me an extra 2 hours a week, please, for internal jobs? And then I was like, what am I doing? I'm doing it exactly the same thing again, getting her to do something that I'm not ready financially to hand over yet. And just because I like giving people work, you know. But yeah, so I keep trying to make the same mistakes again. But I'm aware now, so I'm like, right, no, stop. But yeah, I love paying people.
Well, that comes to like you want everybody to eat and have a stable, consistent place to come to. If you've ever
Yeah.
had your own variable income, you're like, I don't want them to feel like they have the shaky grounds underneath them and feel like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, at least I can come to this. And goes figure, why do most people go get a job? Because there's the attraction of stability, financial consistency, and then I can beyond like the practical, like I'm good at this. What also drew you to entrepreneurship? What really drew you deeply, fundamentally? It's like not only to start it, but to keep going. Like
Yeah.
there's a
So
persona behind that.
to start, it was 100% just because I'd become a mother and I never wanted to go and work 5 days a week again, 9 to 5. I used to commute up to London, and I live about, well, it's about a 3-hour round trip a day. And I never wanted to do that ever again. I never wanted to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 ever again. And I also wasn't ready to give up my maternity leave. So basically I'd spent 10 months just as a mother, no work. And it was during COVID, right? So I never got to really do maternity. Like, by the way, I realized in America you get like 10 weeks or something ridiculous.
It's not
And
much.
me saying I had 10 months is very luxurious. But in the UK, you would normally get about, well, 10 months is like the minimum that the government would give you. And then most people would take a year. But I wasn't ready to stop my maternity leave. I wanted to eke it out, because I felt like I hadn't really had it, because I hadn't done like the social side of it very much because of COVID. So yeah, I was just trying to like find something that would just fit around my son and my life, you know, but you know, would make me money. And then what's kept me doing it is like, well, first of all, going back to the point of how hard it is to run a business, right? When I decided to turn this into an agency rather than just me working as a virtual assistant, it was a very quick decision. It was like, I'll just turn it into an agency. I was like, it costs £12 on Companies House, which is where you register businesses in the UK. And that will, you know, then I'll just run it as an agency. I totally naively underestimated what it meant to run a business completely. So that was that. But then basically what I found was, what drove me was the fact I was already doing it. And I was really lucky in that when I started as the agency, I already had 3 clients from the work I'd been doing. So they came onto the agency. So we were sort of rolling and growing and growing. And then it was like, what drove me was like, I'm this far in, I can't stop. I just got to keep going. Got to keep going. Don't want to look back, because it is working. It is giving me that life that I wanted, the flexible life. But yeah, it's that drives me, I guess, having that flexibility. I only really work Monday to Thursdays. Occasionally I might work Fridays if I have to, but generally Fridays is me and my son day. So for the next few years I'm going to be doing that. So excited to like actually do that. So yeah,
I love that. Well, you sound like you echo a lot of the attraction that most entrepreneurs have of valuing your time the most. Because to be on somebody else's time schedule, there's something in there. Like there's a lot of ways to make money, but there ain't a lot of ways to cut your time after that. It's like, you tell me I got to clock in here and clock in here, or clock it, and then I have to build my life around you, as opposed to like, what about me? Am I giving 100% to me, and then be able to create the life with the people I love? That ain't easy. So I appreciate, like, that is a common theme. When you start to value your time more than you value just money, not to say that money's not valuable, like, but which you choose is a very different way you go about solving the problem, because you start to see and think more creatively of how you can make money so that you can give yourself the time to do really the things you say you want. Like, oh, I'm being a mom. And you're starting with, I got my day a week. And you said before, like, I didn't want to give up my maternity leave. So it's being a mom is part of that. Like, what does it mean to be a good mom? And that's different for everybody too. Like,
Yeah.
let's dive a little deep on that if you're okay with it.
Yeah.
Because let's get into the family side of this. This is a thing that I think most people, probably the most, what's the word? Misunderstood or neglected piece of all of this. This is the when you ever see those icebergs, like those pictures, and like the big weight of the iceberg is way under the water. It's like you don't see it until you see it, and you're like, oh shit, this is really hard to manage this part of it. What has it been like managing both the family while still being a present and fully, successful business owner? What's that relationship been like for you?
Oh my gosh, so difficult.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that my husband is amazing. So even like tonight, for example, I've been working all day. He went and picked up my son from nursery. Then he came home and did the kitchen, because so when I'm working from home, I don't stop to like wash up or like put the dishwasher on. I literally sit down at 8:30, whatever it is, and I work through. I might take 10 minutes for lunch. I know it's a bit naughty. And then I work through. So if the kitchen's a mess in the morning, it's a mess in the evening. So my husband is amazing. Like he does a lot of housework to help me. Because also like tonight, coming on here to speak to you. So I'm not going to be doing the dishwasher tonight. So it's been the struggle is trying to do all of it, but I always had this like really clear priority list. Even before I was running my business, like my son and my husband are like number one. Sadly, I'm quite low down on my priority list, which is starting to shift now. Literally yesterday, I was like, oh, I suddenly feel more drawn to be healthier this year. It's taken my son's like 2 years and 3 months. So like it's taken me that long to actually start to consider what I might need as like a healthy human. You want to jump on that?
Oh, don't you worry. I will.
You will.
I want to hear the rest of your thought. You're bringing out. I'm going to just shut my mouth for a little bit. I want to continue to listen. Yeah.
So number one was always my son, my husband, my family, I guess, is number one. And then number two would be tidying my house, not cleaning it, just tidying. And so also, I should also go back to like number one is making sure my son is like fed. Food is very important. Like I want him to be healthy. He eats such healthy food. So that is like my main priority really, is like I want him to have good meals, which is like awful if you looked at my diet compared to his. Like he eats like a king. But also making sure he has structure and sleep and feels loved, like that's my number one priority. The number two was like, tidy my house. Number three would be work, money. Actually, maybe that should be above number two, I don't know. But anyway, basically there was this real structure of like priorities, but I was 4, 5. I think cleaning came above me. So cleaning my house would be above me eating properly or exercising. It's just how my brain was and still is really. So does that answer the question? I can't even remember the question was now.
Well, you said it's been really challenging balancing.
Yes. Yeah.
Challenging balancing work. We'll call it the work-life balance. I don't really like work-life balance as the word. It's what's common, so we'll have it out there. I like harmony as a better word, because to me, balance denotes binary. It's all of this or all of this. That's the way my brain processes that. Harmony to me allows for context and for things to fit more like a glove.
Yeah.
that's the way I feel about that type of conversation, because then you can ask each piece of your life, like, which is the most prioritized thing? And then how do I go about making sure that both of those things are, like, both sides of the coin have to be addressed,
Mm-hmm.
but how we go about that can fit better into your life. Really long way of saying it opens up more space, and it's not all black and white, all or
Mm-hmm.
nothing, and it removes a lot of judgment. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, just going back to the challenge question, this is how my life looked. So let's say when I was doing my 29 hours a week, right? So my mum would have my son 2 days a week. Brilliant. So that would be literally, like I say, start work at 8:30, work through till 5, get him back, mother again. My the days when I had him, which was 3 days a week, I think at that, like, say a year ago or whenever it was, whenever I was still doing the 29 hours a week, he was sleeping like three naps a day. So like, and I think it was about an hour and a half at a time. It was quite a lot of time. So I'd literally be like, mother, 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 covered in sick, mother. He goes to sleep, run to my laptop, work, 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 work. As soon as I hear him on the baby monitor, right, that's down, back to mother. It was so frantic and so manic. But I'd still do it again. I'd do it for baby number 2 when that happens, because it meant I got to give him really good time. Like when I was with him, my mind was him. I wasn't on work because of the type of work I was doing as well. I could just jump in, jump out. It probably would be different now in running my own business, because at the time I was like working for different clients kind of thing, and it was all very much pick up, put down kind of work. But yeah, I don't regret that manicness, because it meant I could give him what he was my main priority, and I could give him what he needed. So, but yeah, challenge is definitely the word. And parenting is like the hardest thing ever. Like no one can prepare you for what it is. But it also, this is what I always try and tell my friends, but I'm not as eloquent as like you, right? So I always try and say this as like some really meaningful thing, but it doesn't really mean anything. But basically, it redefines the meaning of the word. Like for something to be hard, like for something to be hard, it's not a negative thing when you're a parent. I don't know if that makes sense. I really need to work on this
Hey,
little
you
quote
gotta,
I have.
as just somebody who loves and appreciates you, stop judging yourself so much. I'm going to interject for a minute. I'm going to just to give you
Yeah,
a little break, because you're like, oh my
make
God.
sense of it.
For the record, the majority of the people I've coached in my career, I've coached thousands of people at this point, but the probably 70 to 80% has all been moms. I have yet to meet a mother. I have yet to meet one who, like, the first conversation or at some point in their conversation, they did not allude to the fact that they don't know if they don't feel like they're doing a good job. There is this rampant like mom guilt, and then the self-sacrifice that comes with it. I've had a few people that are like, yeah, that was something I had to work through. But every mom I've ever worked with, deep down, there's like, I am not enough. I will give you the house. And I really appreciate everything you just shared there in such like, I actually appreciated the energy you shared about it, because it's been a common theme. I am not a parent yet. My wife and I are looking to start our family this year. So like one of the beautiful gifts I've been given from the majority of my career being coaching entrepreneurs and parents is that I got to listen to all of their lessons in real time. Like while like, and for the record, for the past 5 years, I've actually been preparing myself like stage by stage by stage to be like, and I'm going to still fuck it up. I am no way, shape, or form proclaiming I have it all figured out, because I don't. But I've been so grateful. The reason why I've taken so long is like, I felt like it would be disrespectful to all of the people who have shared their life with me and given me the gift of wisdom, like their wisdom. And I've had to put myself in my own tests, if you will. I even had a revelation yesterday about like the first 3 years of a business, and my friend and I was talking about like how it's kind of like the first 3 years of getting a baby, like just to be alive. Like, oh, cool, you made it for the first year. You fed it enough. You gave it enough attention. It slept enough. Like you didn't die either. Like you're still going. Like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. It's still that first 3 years it's frantic. And some of my friends I've been very up close and personal while they were going through their first 3 years of it. But the big thing that stuck out to me is the order of which you put yourself in. And it was dead last.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned in all of this is that, and I have lost myself in it as well, but when you couple this living, eating, breathing thing that also generates income and a family that's living, eating, breathing, sleeping, and has multiple layers with a lot of different personalities and your skill sets, a lot of times you become defined by your title and your skill sets and you lose yourself in the process. Like, who the fuck am I? That happened to me, and that was just me getting married and having a business for, at that point I think it was 10 years and maybe 9 years, whatever it was, doesn't matter. I can't imagine adding one more layer of because especially when you care, when you're in the service-based types of businesses where it's a lot about caregiving to others. I want to give you your time back so you can take care of your family, and I'll, yeah, you can give me some money for that and I'll take care of those things. It's so easy to lose your sense of self in all of that. And there's been an interesting thing I've been observing. Like, I was just like, I hear you. Like, I hear those things. What I see change, and I think is thankfully becoming part of the common conversation nowadays, is about the concept of self-care. And that if you are the one common denominator between all those other aspects of your life, numero uno actually has to be put number one. Now, I don't say should very often in this world, and I'm making a bold claim, but when you are whole, you can show up and give the best of yourself. As a recovering savior complex, I will call myself. My friend, he's also there. He was the first person ever introduced me to this, and it might be his own quote. He's like, be a leader, not a savior. And it continues to change me every day, because when I think about, like, a newborn is 100% completely dependent on you. But as you start to mature and you learn how to incorporate other people into your life and ask for support and ask for help, showing up in the energy to be able to know how to ask that and interface with people and connect with people so that the whole collective can win is really hard. That to me is leadership. Saviorship, that's really poor, shitty language. I don't know if that's proper English. And thank you for going on the lecture tour with me right now. I'm just riffing. Are you familiar with every time I need to come up with it, I forget the word. Are you familiar with Cartman's drama triangle?
I don't think so. I might be, but go on, tell me.
I will give you the bullet points of the drama triangle. Namely, the big word in there is drama. Okay, so if you're feeling drama, chaos, friction in your life, there's 3 points to the drama triangle. There is the savior, there is the victim, and there is the villain. Now, most people will only associate themselves as the savior or the victim, because who the fuck wants to be the bad guy?
Not me.
Here, nobody wants to. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. There's a chosen few, like, I'll be the bad guy. The problem becomes the second you identify as any one of those things, you immediately become all three of them. Let me play it out here. So if you say, I'm going to be the savior, you immediately are saying somebody else is a victim. Inherently, you're saying they don't know how to take care of themselves, so I'm going to step in and solve your problems. Think of people who are waiting for a martyr to come absolve them of all their problems, to just pull them out of the wreckage.
Yeah.
yes, those are nice things, but if we've learned through life, like those who help themselves usually run into good luck, it's that kind of idea. The problem becomes because you cut that victim, that person who's in the victim position, off from the ability to learn how to pull themselves out of their own hole, you also become the villain because now they're crippled and dependent on an outside force to become whole. So you, in turn, especially if it's with a relationship with that one person, I typically think like in a marriage, you also become the victim because it turn around like that person can't give you what they need in return. So you have a bunch of drama triangle stuff. You have everybody just floats around in this drama, not getting what they want, feeling superior, like, and it just goes in cycles and cycles and cycles. The only way to end the cycle is to transcend, rise above all of those titles, and just become the observer and be like, oh, this is what's going on. How do I achieve the outcome I want? And how do I let them also learn how to take care of themselves as well? So my long-winded way of coming back to why I think self-care is so important and is worthy of putting number one is because especially when you are the head of a family, the head of a business, if you are not whole, you are not actually capable of giving the best portion of you to those you serve, family or otherwise.
Yeah.
Soapbox rant over. There we go. Didn't anticipate a 10-minute like lecture. Like that was my TED talk. We call them Leb Talks though. 10-minute Leb Talk.
That is awesome. I'm going to be listening to this podcast on repeat, I think, just trying to like drill all this stuff into my head, like trying to remember it all.
You know, when I edit these podcasts, as with all great things in life, it's like hits me exactly when I was supposed to hear that message again. Sometimes it's been like 3 months prior that I'm editing it and I'm hearing, I'm like, man, that's exactly what I'm going through in my life right now. What the actual hell is happening here? It's really hard. And note that it should be noted, I'm saying all these things out loud because I do this to remind myself because I know my own tendencies. So if I put it out there in public, now I'm held accountable because somebody could be like, don't be a hypocrite. And I'm like, damn it, you're right. And I don't like being a hypocrite. So there's the other side of this. What's any of your take on some of those things?
Well, if I'm honest, my mind's a bit mush now.
Damn it.
It's like, what? But no, it's awesome. I do totally see how, like you said, you need to be like, if you're the head of the family, the head of the business, you need to be at your best, on your A game. And I feel like I've come to realize that in the last few days.
Really?
I've like started like I said, I started to have this shift of like, okay, I want to look after myself a bit better now. And I'm literally talking like just planning my meals, having like, I tend to, for lunches, I just do a sandwich because it's easy and it's quick, but I could plan ahead and do a salad or a couscous kind of thing.
That's posh. Let's get posh with it. We're posh with my couscous. I love you.
My mum grew up in Portugal and she's English, but she grew up in Portugal and they say couscous. So like whenever she says couscous, it's always like couscous.
I love that. Yeah. I like cute accents.
Yeah, but I do totally get it. And yeah, you do. You need, like, it's, well, like we were saying probably before we start recording, when you're working flat out and you are giving everything your all and not looking after yourself, you get ill, which is what happened to me a month ago. You know, as soon as I started to stop, I just ill instantly because I was just giving everything and not looking after myself. So I can totally relate to what you're saying.
That gives me a lot of joy that some people never come to that realization. I cannot begin to tell you how many people I've watched just completely torch their life over and over again.
Yeah.
Without having that even modicum of introspection. I actually think that, have I told you this? Maybe I haven't, but I think in the next 10 to 15 years, most large, successful, sustainable businesses are going to be run by women namely because empathy comes easier to women or more readily. But secondarily, I think women give, because of that, women also give more thought to this concept around work-life balance. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because I think we're going to have more harmony and there's going to be more encouragement around. I mean, let's think about before the pandemic. How many people would just like tough it out and go like cough all over everybody at work?
Yeah. Oh, I've done that so many times. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I don't want to be the bad employee, or like I'm gonna, or like how many weeks of productivity got lost because 7 other people got sick because you didn't have the foresight to look a couple weeks in advance that like your one day where you took a nap and like slept in and didn't spew everything all over everybody else might have saved your company thousands of dollars, tens of that. I mean, who knows what the scale of the business is, but like a little thing, that's actually just good business. That's like long-term financial well-being. That takes thought. It's the same reason why like giving a gift to a client is not a lavish thing. It's I'm building a relationship thing because I pay attention to my clients. I give them something nice. Like I didn't understand that for a long time, but then I'm like, oh, now I get this. I understand why those little things, they make you feel something and you feel safe. Most important thing, you feel safe. I've gone on a couple rants today, so this is mostly. I don't usually talk this much. I don't feel like on most of my podcasts. So I apologize that I'm ranting more than usual. You're like, oh, I get to have the podcast rant in real time. Oh, that's all I get, right?
Well, I feel like I'm getting all your like wisdom and wonderfulness, and like I say, I'll just digest it over the next 50 years.
Well, I'm getting all of your wonderfulness and your energy. You make me feel safe and loving. Like that's.
Oh, well, there we go. There's your takeaway from me. You know, I'm I'm giving that.
You got those like really loving mom vibes. Go figure. That's why you're probably pretty damn good at what you do. Crazy enough. But I just think from the simple effect of like you are a mom who gets it, to have, you mentioned your husband just run the dishwasher for you. That probably means the world to you right now. Like that's one less thing off of your plate. Actually, I'd be curious, like how have you and your husband, aside from just like, okay, can you do the dishes for me? How have you two communicated through this entrepreneurial journey? How have you navigated that? I think a lot of people are looking for those secrets.
It's interesting because he came from a similar background to me. He was actually a guitarist, and he spent 10 years working as a guitarist, but doing much higher level stuff than what I did. He actually worked for pop stars. You know, like X Factor. Actually, was it? Yeah, you've got X Factor, haven't you? So he worked with a lot of the X Factor artists and a few like Russian artists and stuff. Anyway, so he did that for 10 years. Then he had the same kind of move as me, where he wanted to like move into a different field. So he actually went into landscaping, which most people would say gardening, but it's not gardening. It's actually like more design led than gardening. So anyway, he now works for a company as a landscaper, and he often gets asked, would you ever go out and set up your own business? And he's like, no. He has no desire to have his own business. But saying that, he's very supportive of my business. And even like when I was going through all my finances and my goals for this year, we sat down, like I did it all, and then I sort of sat down with him and talked him through it. And it was so interesting getting his perspective on it, more from like a personal point of view, like, yeah, but if you did that there and that there, then you, as in me, his wife, would be getting, you know, be more financially stable, blah, 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 blah. So he's very involved in my business in that sense, like very in a supportive sense. But yeah, he's just very understanding because I do work hard. Like I said, before Christmas, I was working till midnight most nights. And he gets it. But I have very strict boundaries. Friday night, 5 o'clock comes Friday, no work. I have a bottle of wine, you know, Friday night, nice meal, bottle of wine, watch some telly or watch a film or something. Saturday night, same thing. Saturday day, I might do a bit of work if I need to. But like, yeah. So yeah, it's just, yeah, having those boundaries of like where we do spend time together, I think is really important. But then, yeah, he's a good egg, you know.
He strikes me as a good communicator.
Yeah, good communicator. He gets it. He, you know, he wants a tidy house as well. So if he wants it tidy, he's got to tidy it.
Did you both like sit down and actually discuss like roles and responsibilities as you were going through that?
Not sure. I don't think so. I think it just naturally happened.
Mm.
Yeah. When I had my son, I won't go all the way into it, but I had to have like quite a big operation, and when I gave birth to him, because he got stuck basically. Sorry to freak anyone out who's pregnant, but it was still amazing. Still would do it again tomorrow. But anyway, the point is for the first, well, at least the first few days, but really the first 6 weeks, I was kind of out of action. So he actually, even from that very first second of our child being born, had to be the main caregiver, and just take it from there, you know, every single aspect. I literally couldn't move for the first day at least, or 2 days. So yeah, he's always been one of those kind of guys who just jumps in, gets on with it, you know. So lucky me.
You know, that makes me really happy. I really fundamentally believe having a couple really strong, beautiful relationships, not least of which the person you share your life with, is so paramount, not just to success in life, but also success secondarily in business. Because man, again, you don't know how valuable it is to have somebody else just run the dishwasher for you until you're like, oh my God, those 5 minutes, I got to kick my feet up and just like be me for 4 seconds and whatever.
Yeah, it's massive. And like, you know, often I'd be working in the evenings, and if I then had to do the housework, even if I worked till like 10, if I then had to do the housework, I'd probably be up till midnight anyway, you know, doing everything. So the fact that he sort of just gets on with it is massive, because then I can go to bed at 10 or at least watch a bit of telly, you know.
I just love you. Where's your vision of this whole thing going now? I mean, you've gotten through the interesting jumpstart piece, and now it's like, it sounds like, having gone through this few cycles, and you've gone through clearly a couple cycles, whether you acknowledge it about yourself or not. Where do you see this organization going? Like, what are you like really deeply committed to with all of it?
Yeah, so last year, my first year in business, like most people's first year in business, was not a financially great year, just because, like I said, I was too excited to spend money. So this year is all about kind of recouping and building on what we've got. We've got a great client base, and we've got, it's, you know, good, nice, steady income of steady flow of new clients coming in. So it's just building on that. I definitely have this love for helping businesses. It's such a reward. So I feel like I get quite a lot back in that sense, you know, emotionally, you know. So the money is great, but you know, the fact that I get that reward of like being able to help businesses is great. So yeah, this year is all about focusing on building up our regular clients. We do a bit of ad hoc work as well, but I kind of want to focus more on the regular, just because I think we can offer more value there. Yeah, just building is the next year. And then on a personal side, my idea is like, I'm saving my money, and then I'm ready to go for baby number 2. But give me at least a year.
Building a beautiful and healthy family. I love that. Well, it also sounds like you're finding joy in helping others build their own family as well, while doing your own. And namely, crazy enough, helping people get back the thing that you also deserve to have back in your own life, i.e. time. Crazy enough.
It's so ironic because I give businesses time. So my business gives businesses time, but my time, I don't have much. It's so silly, isn't it? So yeah, but this year I'll be taking back some of my time as well.
who are the types of business owners and types of businesses that you tend to serve the most? What are the ones, what do they kind of look like? Are they coaching businesses? Are they construction business? What are they?
Yeah, well, it's really broad, literally anyone who needs admin support. But however, I did do a little analysis at the end of last year, and a very high percentage were coaches, and in the coaching world in some way. And I think that's because I don't know. When I was working as a VA myself, my main client was a business coach. And through that, I learned a lot about how to support a coach. And then I've sort of rolled that out within my business, but also she's then recommended us to people. There's a lot of our works come through word of mouth. We've not really had, we've done some marketing, but not had loads from it. It's more word of mouth. So yeah, when I was looking at the analysis, like a really high percentage, I want to say 80%, but that sounds really high, were coaches, and about 80% as well were through word of mouth. Saying that, we work with all different companies. There was a construction company we worked with last year on one of my sessions where I work on their admin processes. That was really fun. So I worked with them for a whole day and sort of broke down their admin processes for and how their business runs and helped improve them. But then it's really broad. There's some individuals who work within a bigger organization who we support on their personal things. There's some musicians we support on their social media. It's so broad. Yeah, it's so broad. Oh, there's some accountants, so it goes from accountant to musician to construction to coach. It's just anyone who needs some admin support, really. That's where we step in.
Who wants some time back?
Yeah,
I love
the gift of time.
I love that. Well, if somebody's listening right now, like, yo, I dig her vibe. I like some of that positivity. I like that she's a mom who's helping other people. Just she comes in and basically plays mom for me, so that I got that reliable person who knows how to sort my life out. That's the way I always think about an assistant. I always think it's a mom who just handles stuff.
Yeah,
it's not always a very straight line thing. It's nah, I'll figure it out. We're good. You just go do your thing. It's it's okay, honey. Go off and go outside and play right now. I got the rest taken care of.
yeah.
The dinner will be here when you get back. That kind of idea.
Yeah.
I don't know why I think of it that way, but for entrepreneurs, being the face of their vision is their playground. So that time where you don't have to do all the boring shit that people don't really want to do. It's I think that's what mom does. Mom kind of took care of it, so I could go play with my friends. Somebody's listening. They're yo, I dig Rachel's vibe. How would they best connect with you?
So I always think the best place to go is my website, which is myfreelanceadmin.com, just because then everything's there. You've got LinkedIn, you've got Instagram, you've got Facebook, email, however you want to contact me. But yeah, come find me. And yeah, I'd love to know if anyone connected to stuff we talked about, because like I said to you before we start recording, you always go really deep on these podcasts, and I feel we went deep, but I'd like to know if it resonated with people.
I want to know if it resonated with people too. I love that you, because I asked out of curiosity, why do you listen here? And then because you said that, I'm cool. I'm of the idea, what the hell else are we doing in this life? There's so many service level conversations that just happen. I don't want to talk about the fucking weather anymore, unless we're talking about the esoteric, divine meaning of all. Cool, that's cool, but I can look outside and see my weather and I'll move on with my day. I want to know about you as the person and how you're going through life, especially if we can share some lessons about how you're doing a good job at that thing, because chances are I'm probably not good at one of those things. Why would, same way I said, I've been paying attention for all these years to all these people who taught me about parenthood and their lessons and business and all. I always see it as it'd be disrespectful not to open the space for that type of real conversation, be authentic, because too often we have to, everybody's just painting a face on nowadays. It's ugh, I don't want it. Let's be friends. What do friends do? They talk about real shit. So let's be friends. Let's just do that. Let's talk about the deep stuff, and then all the other cool things come along the way. Not to say that sometimes, talking about sports or whatever is the cool thing. One of my clients, I was just texting her last night as we're watching the games. And she's like, how did this? And then I started sending her a picture of my dog, like getting ready for the game. And it was cool. But let's part with this. What is some parting words of wisdom or a lesson that you'd love to share with the audience? Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So it's a bit geeky, but I'm going to go with it because so I am very passionate about processes. So my wisdom is around processes. Sorry to go like this.
That's okay.
Put my glasses on. But processes. No, so my wisdom is that processes are the foundation of your business, sorry. So you know, before anything, you need to build those processes. So from what I'm talking about from admin, it's like building out how things are done. Once you have that foundation of how things are done, then you can scale and you can get people involved, like companies like myself, or whatever, you know, or just have the clarity yourself to run smoother and more confidently. So for me, that's my little wisdom. Processes are key. Sorry if that's a bit boring. You were probably looking for something a bit more exciting.
No. You need to stop prejudging. I'm like, here's the reality. That stuff is just there, especially like we can get into the woo side of things, like the feeling stuff, but that's like the feminine energy. Also the very important side of this is the masculine energy. Like you do need to have a structure. You see like some of those people are like, oh, it's just the universe. And they never ground it in like, you got to do this today, guys. Like you still got to make some money because this is the universe you actually exist in, to pay for the bills and to put food on the plate so you can have the food, to then go think about your esoteric universal concepts. Sometimes very practical, have a process is important. And if you tend to not be that person, it's probably a good idea to go find that person who you can have a healthy relationship professionally with, to what I consider amplify your own greatness, because that person is not caging you. Like as you're saying, a process is more about like a framework and a housing and something you can repeat so that you can sharpen and amplify that energy on the back end. So sometimes it's just as simple as that. It doesn't have to be magical, but the result will be magical if you just do the thing. So yeah, give yourself credit where credit's due. It's all good. Rachel, I love you. I was very excited to see your name on my schedule today when we were getting ready to go. You're fantastic. I'm excited for our friendship grows too. You're amazing. And for everybody who's listening, go check out the show notes. That will be where our contact information is, so you can go get yourself the help that you deserve from somebody who actually gets you in a human way. You're awesome. Thank you everybody for listening. And until next time, I remind you to love everybody.